So Patrick CC uploaded this video titled "The Lies That Destroyed a Legendary Wrestler," and it's Hulk Hogan in the thumbnail. Now, what's interesting about the upload of this during this time is that it came out at around the time when Hulk Hogan went on the first Raw Netflix episode, and he just got like completely booed. And the reasoning for the booing is, well, this was in LA. Hogan obviously endorsed Trump pretty heavily last year in 2024. Obviously he had that racial rant that got leaked, yeah, like about 10 years back now, 8-10 years back. And he only pretty much came on this episode of Raw Netflix to promote his beer, his Real American beer. So here's him just getting booed. I'll show like a clip of this real quick. Hogan booed at Into It Dome. Let's see how it sounded like from a fan's point of view. Dude, it's so audible. He's just like looking around like, alright. Damn, just a boo each, bro. She's getting booed. Dude. Alright, there you go. You heard that guy. He still tries to get through it. Oh, man. Hogan, no. Alright, so, a bunch of people started talking about it the day after the first episode of Raw on Netflix, and Pat McAfee even brought it up, and this clip happened where here on X, he captioned it with, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a live press conference with the Hulkster."
Now, I believe Hulk Hogan is doing a live press conference to address everything that happened last night.
So it's like, oh, we got Hulk Hogan? Nope.
Hello and welcome to this press conference.
Impersonator.
Called the day after, arguably the greatest day in my professional career.
And it just makes fun of him.
Booing was actually trending on X last night.
Booing.
I wasn't sure if you had any comments about the almost negative opening that you received when you were out on the stage, sir. Thank you.
Well, yeah, if you think those were boos, I can tell you're a fucking mark, okay? I heard a couple boos smattered across the crowd, and I'll be honest, I had no idea the people in L.A. hated Jimmy Hart the way they did. Those liberal marks out there can't stand a MAGA champion like the Hulkster. But again, they weren't booing the Hulkster. They were booing Jimmy Hart.
It's funny because this is some shit that Hulk Hogan would actually say, dude. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility that Hulk would say some shit like this.
Everybody loves the Hulkster, dude.
So that's where it comes off the clip, obviously. 4,000 likes, 1 million views. Everybody was loving it, dude. Now, when you search up Hulk Hogan on X, or at least what I get, it's just like a bunch of people roasting Hulk Hogan. Watching Hulk Hogan get booed out of a building filled with 18K people restored my faith in humanity. Hulk Hogan has dedicated basically his entire life to WWE, and to see him be booed like that in a spot meant to honor him just really warmed my heart. I loved every second of it. So yeah, just Hulk Hogan getting roasted all up on the X platform. Now, another thing that's going to be happening in the near future, Hulk Hogan is reportedly set to return to WWE at Saturday night's main event on the 25th of January. So Hulk Hogan's going to be at the event, and now this kind of makes me wonder. I think the fans in there, no matter where it is in the US, are just going to boo the hell out of it, because this is just not going to be like a funny thing to do. Because Hulk Hogan, whether you love or hate him, he is weird. He has done some very criticizable stuff, and stuff that you have like fair reason enough to not like him. But now I wonder if this booing thing is now going to be a consistent thing every time he comes on to the shows, which I think it will be. And with that, if Hogan's going to be getting booed from now on, I think he's going to be playing a heel, and it might actually be like a storyline where he could maybe even be like a heel manager or something, or like every time he comes out he could be like a heel on some Hollywood Hogan type of thing. But I don't know if the WWE will want to go ahead and do that, because they are making money from advertising the Real American beer. But I don't know, it could be an interesting way to go about this new, I guess you could say, era of Hogan being booed now. And one of the responses to Hogan being at the Saturday night's main event is this one here, where it says, "The crowd preparing to boo Hulk Hogan out of the building again," which I think will happen. Yeah, so everybody's just getting ready. And I also had a little bit to say on the situation, because when I saw that the Travis Scott smoking a blunt on Raw Netflix was posted here, like a clip of it, I just said, this is how it felt like watching Hogan get booed on the Raw premiere on Netflix. Just like, it just felt like, you were smoking on that pack or something. I don't smoke, but that's probably how it felt like, just like it felt so good to watch that happen. But yeah, now with that little intro out of the way, let's watch this Patrick CC video and see if we learn anything new. I'll add on to it. You know, me being a fan of the history of wrestling and stuff, especially in the WWE business aspect and everything. The whole wrestling world is just like so interesting when you look at the business aspect, and I want to see if Patrick CC did justice for it. Usually he always does justice pretty damn well, like this Vince McMahon video here. Yeah, it's a good video too. But this Hulk Hogan, 48 minutes, so let's see what we got here.
To say he was a superstar is an understatement. For the better part of a decade, he was the face of the entire industry. Now, being
100%.
a celebrity is already going to create ego problems. It's hard to remain humble and honest when people treat you as larger than life. But with Hogan, it goes a step further. Unfortunately, every part of his life that he could not control with his team of writers came crashing down. From ruthless cheating on his wife with his daughter's
I think that was a reference to the lyrics when it was. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
Caught
Good
admitting
reference.
to being a full-blown racist, to nearly having his entire legacy erased from the history books.
Dude, it's wild that WWE didn't remove him from the Hall of Fame. He's such like a huge iconic, like he was needed. Someone like him was needed during the, I think it was called the Golden Age era of WWF at that time. He was 100% needed for that era. So I can see why they didn't take him out of the Hall of Fame completely. Or did they? Let me see. On July 15, despite no prior official statement by the WWE declaring his removal from the Hall of Fame, Hogan was reinstated into the Hall of Fame after his numerous public apologies over past years. So was he removed for a little bit? It just says reinstated. Yeah, because I don't remember them ever saying that he was completely removed. It just said, because that would have made like huge headlines and stuff. But it does say here that he was reinstated. So he was probably just like removed slightly, but never like a huge announcement was made.
It became a theme in Hogan's life to embellish or exaggerate stories, so much so that people stopped believing any word he says.
Yeah.
One of his favorite stories is how he almost played bass guitar for Metallica. After his baseball career came to a screeching halt, then something extremely rare happened. Hogan lost a match. He lost the WWF World Heavyweight Championship to Andre the Giant. At this point, it was only the second time he ever lost. Even though technically he didn't get legally pinned, the referee just wasn't paying attention to him lifting his shoulder. Plus, this was, of course, pre-planned to make Hogan look like the underdog for their match at WrestleMania 3.
So even in Hogan, you know, obviously everything's predetermined and everything. So even in the predetermined notion that it's like, okay, Hogan, you're gonna lose tonight, this dude still puts his arm up to show like, no, I didn't really lose. Like, just, dude, Hogan was just so egotistical, man. Like, he never wanted to make himself look bad. I mean, I guess, yeah, he wants to look good in front of the young fans and stuff. I could see that, but still though, dude, like, it's just like a whole ego play from Hogan here.
Pinned, the referee just wasn't paying attention to him lifting his shoulder. Plus, this was, of course, pre-planned to make Hogan look like the underdog for their match at WrestleMania 3.
Okay, if that was the case, if they were running with that storyline there, like, oh wait, Hogan did put his arm up, but the ref didn't see it. Okay, that's fair. But even then, like, even in the predetermined, I'm pretty sure that like Hogan was like, hey, let's have this be a thing to show that I didn't really truly lose. Still, Hogan's, I don't know if he came up with it, but I'm assuming that he would be like the one that pitched that, because that's just how like his ego was and everything.
Although wrestling is scripted, to say that it's fake is definitely disrespectful. It's no secret that wrestlers regularly face extreme physical demands, enduring injuries and chronic pain due to the rigorous nature of their back-breaking profession. The combination of intense training, frequent matches, and the expectation to maintain peak performance levels, it leaves little time for proper recovery. And as a result, illicit substances are sometimes misused as a quick solution to manage pain, allowing athletes to continue competing. Not to mention the aesthetic benefits. The bigger, stronger, and more muscular you looked, the more potential you had to become a star. The number of pills that were being handed out at the WWE at the time was mind-boggling. Following the increasingly thorough coverage of adverse effects, steroids were prohibited in the United States after the passing of the Anabolic Control Act of 1990, meaning trafficking steroids is handled similarly to trafficking cocaine or LSD. As the act went into full effect, the athletic industry as a whole was being viewed through a different lens, because performance-enhancing drugs took away from the fairness of the game. But wrestling is an interesting point of contention because the matches were scripted and pre-planned. Therefore, it's kind of impossible to have an unfair competitive edge. There was a doctor that would meet us.
That's true, but it was just like more a bit more on the business aspect. Is like you got one guy here, you got guy A, and you got guy B here. Guy A weighs 200 pounds. Guy B weighs 200 pounds. Guy A is like regularly fit and stuff. Guy B is a little bit skinnier, smaller, and everything. And during that time in the like 1980s and stuff, Guy A, the bigger guy, will get more matches, will be on the show more because he's just like bigger in general. And Guy B, even though like he's putting in the same work and working out and stuff, eating well, same thing as Guy A. Guy B will still be a little bit smaller and will be on the shows much less. So Guy B like obviously wanted to make more money for himself, his family, his future. To get on the shows more, he will have to get bigger. But you know, he's like trying super hard, but he can't get to that level of like someone like Guy A. So Guy B is like, well, I mean, it's like I gotta take the steroids, or I'm just not gonna make more money, or I'm going to be put on the show possibly less, or shit, maybe even fired. So I got to take the steroids to get as big as Guy A, who's getting all these matches and stuff, all this money. So Guy B is like, dude, I have to take these steroids to continue in my career. If I want to keep going in my career as normally, or if I want to get higher in a bigger and better position, I gotta take these steroids. And that's what they were doing. And now when Guy B is like, now he's bigger than Guy A. Guy B is now bigger than Guy A. Then Guy A, who's been doing it like legit, he's like Guy B guy. He's being put on more shows, and with that happening, and all these other people that are also on roids, they're getting put on shows more. Now Guy's like, dude, I've been trying super hard and everything, and I'm still not as big as these guys on the roids. I got to take roids myself, and that's how the whole roid situation starts. Legit people that aren't taking steroids, they're seeing these other people on steroids, they're getting more time on the show, they're more fit, they're getting all the fame and money and stuff or whatever, matches, and they're progressing their career more. The people that are not taking those steroids, they see all of that, like, dude, if I want to continue in this business at a good pace, I gotta take these roids. So yeah, while everything is scripted and stuff, and like, you know, them being like super buff isn't gonna necessarily determine if they're gonna win a predetermined match, just the business aspect of it, from their point of view, they had to do this because that's what the business was asking for at the time, or at least the general notion of it. Nowadays, obviously, it's not happening because they take drug tests and everything, but back then, that's how it was.
Hogan's creative control became such a widely discussed issue that a long-standing meme holds in the wrestling community, quoting Hogan as saying, "That's not gonna work for me, brother."
Yep.
And although we don't know for certain he ever said this, it seems extremely likely. In February of 2002, Hogan made his return to the WWF as a heel at the No Way Out pay-per-view. He showed up as the leader of the original NWO with Hall and Nash, as the three immediately started causing problems with the company's top superstars, The Rock and Stone
Hollywood
Cold.
Hogan versus
The Rock challenged Hollywood Hogan to a match at WrestleMania 18.
Dude, this match is pure aura. I think I would say that this match is the most aura-filled WrestleMania match of all time, because like it says here, icon versus icon. Hollywood Hogan, who was like a huge, obviously the biggest wrestler in the 80s and stuff, versus the Attitude Era's biggest like trash talker. He's up there with Steve Austin, and The Rock had already been in movies at this time, so he was kind of like seen as like a Hollywood Rock too. So it was like Hollywood Rock versus Hollywood Hogan. It was just like this clash of these huge stars, and while they weren't necessarily in their prime, they weren't like far off from their prime. Like Hollywood Hogan was still huge, and The Rock, this is like a couple of years after the Attitude Era, or still probably, well, it was in 2002, so it was kind of like in that Attitude Era timeline, but still like it's just following like the peak prime of the Attitude Era. Hollywood Hogan was going to be facing off against The Rock, and how the match played out at WrestleMania 18 was Hulk Hogan himself, he was vehemently loved. He was like super loved by the crowd, because the crowd just like 10-15 years ago, they were kids that idolized the original Hulk Hogan, the yellow and red Hulk Hogan. And now they were growing up and they got like jobs and they paid money for tickets to attend WrestleMania 18, and they wanted to cheer their childhood hero against the villainous Rock, who These two were like kind of heels at that time, but they wanted to cheer against The Rock here, and they wanted to cheer for their childhood hero. But yeah, that match was just like pure aura, dude.
His first major success outside of wrestling came in 2005 with the launch of his VH1 reality TV show, Hogan Knows Best, which can we all acknowledge that the name of this show couldn't be any more obviously made up by Terry himself. His kids are portrayed as lazy and incompetent, very stereotypical rich kids living the high life with their dad's millions. His daughter, Brooke, is an aspiring singer and songwriter, trying to capitalize on the blonde bombshell aesthetic pioneered by Britney Spears. Unfortunately, she just made horrible music, so it didn't really work out. His son, Nick, seems to be in the process of discovering who he is, what he's interested in, and what type of career he wants to pursue. Tragically, one night in 2007, just 16 days after his fourth speeding ticket in 11 months, the 17-year-old was street racing in his Toyota Supra at top speeds before fishtailing and crashing into a tree. Nick's passenger, 22-year-old John Graziano, suffered severe brain damage that has left him permanently unable to speak, walk, or eat. While Hogan called his son in jail, the conversation was recorded, as all of them are. Transcripts of the conversation were revealed that many interpret as Hogan blaming the victim for this situation. Well, I don't know what type of person John was, what he did to get himself in this situation. I know he was pretty aggressive and used to yell at people and used to do stuff, but for some reason, man, God laid some heavy stuff on that kid, man. I don't know what he was into. In Hogan Knows Best final season, they display the beginning of what would ultimately be the destruction of Terry and Linda's marriage.
I can't live like this, Terry.
Every day, it's drama. It's just ridiculous.
In case you can't tell, I've had it, okay?
Linda's verbally
you can tell like it's all planned out and shit.
So the words were spoken?
Yeah. It's just to the point where we
so
cannot
extra, man.
keep doing this.
I really don't care, because I sure as hell am not going to live like this anymore with you.
Yo, the flip phone. What a time, dude. The mid-2000s, what a time.
And to no surprise, they did end up getting a divorce after the show concluded. Hogan's darkest year was in 2007, when he wasn't wrestling or shooting his reality TV show. It's almost like the moment his every move wasn't being scripted or choreographed, he collapsed. The final nail in the coffin was when Linda discovered that Terry cheated on her with their daughter's best friend, Christian Plant. My relationship with Terry began at a time when Terry and Linda privately knew their marriage was ending, she told the tabloid. She had left him already, although no official papers had been filed. Christian tried to apologize to Brooke as she felt immense guilt. In a MySpace post, Brooke responded, "When your best friend and one of your closest family members that you have loved unconditionally since your first day on this earth betray you together, you could maybe find it in yourself to forgive one day, but you will never forget the hurt they caused you." As if it couldn't get any weirder, Linda, Hogan's ex-wife, started dating her son's 19-year-old friend, Charlie Hill, and ended up marrying him. While Hogan may have felt his worst days were behind.
What the hell is up with this family, man? Dude, that is like some... Wow, dude, that's like something you would write like a drama-filled movie or TV show, and... but this is happening in real life, man. Dude, it's like... Oh man, what the hell? This is a situation where it's life imitating art, but a messed up art, man. That's wild. And let me go back just to make sure that I heard this right.
Give one day, but you will never forget the hurt they caused you. As if it couldn't get any weirder, Linda, Hogan's ex-wife, started dating her son's 19-year-old friend, Charlie Hill, and ended up marrying
dating
him.
Is one thing,
While
but
Hogan may
is
have
another,
felt his
man.
worst days were behind him, and he could finally focus on repairing the mistakes and lies he told to his family and friends, it would all come back to haunt him again in 2012 when a tape between Hogan and Heather Clem surfaced online. In October 2012, Gawker, a celebrity blog site, released a short clip of the encounter. The site claimed they received the tape from an anonymous source who wanted no payment nor credit. Their only request was that we watch it. Hogan later told NBC's Today Show that the tape happened during a low point in his failing marriage to Linda Hogan. The tape was filmed in 2006, but Linda filed for divorce the following year. Things were bottomed out completely, Hogan said. I was with some friends, and I made a wrong choice, and now all of a sudden it surfaces, over 6 years later, and it's just appalling. Hogan later sued Gawker Media for posting the 90-second clip of the tape, and on March 18th, 2016, the jury delivered a verdict in favor of Hogan. In compensatory damages, Hogan was awarded $115 million, $55 million for economic harm, and $60 million for emotional distress. The jury later awarded him an additional $25 million in punitive damages. And while this might actually be seen as a huge win for Hogan, more shameful things from his past were coming to light, but this next one would nearly ruin his...
Getting paid 9 figures. I don't know if he got it or if they were just ordering him to pay, and they're still paying him to this day. But 9 figures is wild, man.
More found footage of Hogan was released, but this time he was making racist comments regarding his daughter Brooke dating black men.
I'm not a double standard type guy. I'm racist to a point.
That's a crazy point to just say I'm racist to a point, and then just to say the rest. It's wild, man. Hulk Hogan, like, what the hell, dude?
The thing is, now they start doing these nasty emails, so someone will arrive at a relationship. And so now don't ever talk to anybody. No.
In July of 2015, National Enquirer and Radar Online were the first media outlets to publicize the situation. The recordings disappointed many within the wrestling community, forcing Hogan to come forward and address his racist behavior. 8 years ago, I used offensive language during a conversation. It was unacceptable for me to have used that offensive language. There is no excuse for it, and I apologize for having done it, Hogan said in a statement to People. This is not who I am. I believe very strongly that every person in the world is important and should not be treated differently based on race, gender, orientation, religious beliefs, or otherwise. This is obviously Hogan's biggest lie to date. Like, it's one thing to argue that something is out of context, or maybe something is a microaggression, but here this guy is 60-something years old, dropping hard R's and literally saying out of his mouth, I'm a racist.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been any more clear. The WWE was feeling more pressure than ever to respond to the actions of their once golden boy. And they did. By scrubbing Hulk Hogan from the WWE's website, the company removed almost all references to Hogan, including his listing as a judge for the reality competition show Tough Enough. They removed his merchandise from the WWE shop and his entry from its WWE Hall of Fame page. Hogan tried to reframe the narrative, with his lawyer claiming that Hogan chose to resign. However, WWE clarified the company terminated their contract with Hogan, stating that they are committed to embracing and celebrating individuals from all backgrounds. In response to the controversy, Mattel stopped producing Hulk Hogan's action figures, while Hogan's merchandise was removed from online stores of Target, Toys R Us, and Walmart. Hogan tried to add more context as to the reason why he decided to use these racist remarks in a carefully scripted interview with Good Morning America.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it. But a lot of people need to realize that you inherit things from your environment. And where I grew up was South Tampa, and it was a really rough neighborhood.
We're still holding that for
very low income.
Decades?
And all my friends, we greeted each other saying that word. The word was just thrown around like it was nothing.
I don't know about the hard R.
Is it fair to say that you inherited a racial bias?
I would say that is very fair. The atmosphere, the environment I grew up in, all my white friends, all my black friends, to hear the word on a daily basis when they'd greet me in the morning. That's what they'd say to me. Good morning, so-and-so. I think that was part of the culture and the environment I grew up in.
Even though Hogan was ostracized.
Do I think his career should be ruined because of it? No, I don't. Because if we ruining people's career for that word right there, ain't none of us gonna be working.
Although...
Oh, man. Okay, yeah, for words, sure. But when you have that mindset, especially with that one sentence that he said, that he's racist to a point... but it was 8 years, like it was 8 years before it got leaked, so maybe he did change. But at that point, how old was he? He was at least over 50. Yeah, he was at least over 50 years old. It's bro should know better, and especially with him having such a huge spotlight on him, you always gotta play it safe at least, dude, because then stuff like this will happen. So if you're gonna be for lack of a better term, a piece of shit like that in general, like at least don't say it out loud and just keep it in your head. Don't be outwardly racist and stuff.
Wrestling fans were entirely fed up with Hogan's nonsense. It seemed like his celebrity friends and wrestling peers respected him enough to defend him publicly. On July 15th, 2018, Hogan was reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame. He made his on-screen return 4 months later as the host of WWE's Crown Jewel.
Of course, it would be at a non-US location where he would make the return, but in terms of that, Hogan played his card well there.
In the following months, Hogan continued appearing on TV and would be inducted into the Hall of Fame a second time as a member of NWO, along with stablemates Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman. Now reaching 70 years old, it seems like Hogan is finally living the retired life, spending most of his days in Clearwater Beach, Florida with his new wife and focusing on new entrepreneurial endeavors like his Hogan's Hangout Bar and Grill and promoting his Real American Beer. There is no doubt that Hulk Hogan transformed wrestling. He is an icon who helped grow the sport to a level that was unimaginable, which has paved the way for many careers after him.
Yeah, even with all the controversies and stuff, like, you gotta give Hogan his flowers for that, for grinding it out during those years, those decades even, changing the perception of him when he went to WCW, and then making wrestling even bigger with the competition against WWF while he was in WCW. You know, whether you love or hate him, or you can see all these controversies, you still got to give him his flowers for that and put some respect on the work that he did there. You could criticize him, you could criticize Terry as a person, but his work ethic and all that, at least in the good parts, it did huge for the whole industry and made it to, and helped, and like 1,000,000% helped it be as big as it is now. And then from now on, everybody took that baton stick, and now they're making it even bigger. He just he paved the way, man. He helped pave the way.
And while most wrestlers are willing to compromise their creative vision or sacrifice the good of their character for the good of others, it seemed like Hogan could never do that. He wanted to remain the all-American hero, the #1 wrestler for as long as possible. However, you could argue that him refusing to get put over is what maintained his legacy. Think of all the guys who just let the writers determine their future. Never let them fulfill their true potential, only for them to be forgotten. Some look at the deterioration of Hogan's personal life as some sort of godlike punishment for his decades of abusing his power. It's hard to give Terry the benefit of the doubt because, well, he has lied so much about his life, his past, even extremely small details that can easily be fact-checked. It's hard to know who Terry Bollea really is. Maybe he doesn't even know. However, one thing does seem certain about him. He may not be the best friend, he may not be the role model husband, he may not be a trustworthy businessman, but he does seem to care deeply about his fans.
Yeah, but it's just amazing how the fans have made this live forever, you know. So it's amazing, and it's the fans that did it.
I always really enjoy Patrick CC's concluding like statements and everything. He always like wraps it up. He always wraps up the topic very well, and it makes statements that like it makes you think about the situation much more deeply and stuff, and seeing how the impact is. This one though, this one's a little bit. This one can be seen another way though, because here Hogan's praising the fans, but I mean, as we've seen at the Raw Netflix debut, everybody just dislikes Hogan to the point where they boot him out of the building basically. But either way, like a good conclusion to this video by Patrick CC. So that was the video, The Lies That Destroyed a Legendary Wrestler by Patrick CC. And yeah, W video. But let's see what the comments say. Uploading this after Hogan got booed on Raw this past week is perfect timing. Yeah, that's what I was saying, dude. It's like such a good time to upload this video. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Hogan where he looked younger than 45. Dude, I always thought that like during those like the 80s days, I always thought that like he was like this older person, but dude was just like in his 30s, man. Because when was he born? Okay, because yeah, WrestleMania 1, I think that one took place in 84. So at the first WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan was in his 30s, and he was just like looking, yeah, he's basically looked like this throughout his whole wrestling career, even now. What's wild is that they're heroes in the ring, but villains in reality. And the actual dudes who play villains are actually nice dudes. Crazy how egos change someone. I'm kind of surprised that Patrick CC didn't mention this. Shawn Michaels trolled Hogan in a match by flopping around when Hogan refused to lose to him, and it was brilliant. that match is so classic nowadays, just for the meme aspect, the backstage politics that took place of it, but it's still funny to this day. This video should be titled "When It Comes Crashing Down and It Hurts Inside."